your big Hollywood sunglasses and light the torch, because it's cellar time. Welcome to the Crack Cellar. As the prophecy was once laid down peacefully in a naval combat funeral. I'm Two-Spirit Penguin Daniel.
And I'm Master Chief Nickels.
And today, we have a very special thing to talk about, Broadcaster Nickels. It is Stargate A.I. What is it, Broadcaster Nickels? Explain to me what this is.
Well, I would say, low rent Stargate, but I think it's a little bit below that. We got two, maybe three noticeable characters from the series, multiple series.
Not the ones you want, though.
Not the ones. Well, one of them.
One of the ones.
We got Daniel fucking Jackson. Watch your mouth.
It'd be crazy if James Spader just blew the party, like just showed up on Zoom.
Bro,
like,
dude.
Hey, I heard you guys were looking for Daniel Jackson.
Dude, we need that dude that played young O'Neill too.
Oh,
he needs to show up.
Wouldn't it be funny if we found him and he actually grew up to look like Richard Dean Anderson? You're like, what?
He probably does a little bit.
You never know with kids.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I've seen kids as 30-year-olds that look just like they did when they were 10, and I've also seen them that are unrecognizable from when they were 10. It's a big range.
Drugs are bad.
There are many factors, Broadcaster Nickels.
Yeah, drugs are a big one. Diet, too. Those two are the biggest ones.
So this brilliant idea comes to us from Tony Robbins' wannabe Brad Wright, and he basically is making a table read and recording it virtually and portraying it in a trailer as if it were like a brand new Steven Seagal movie, you feel like you're about to just pan to an empty ocean with a giant sea liner with military jets taking off, and you see Seagal getting ready to pop a cigar in his mouth. But no, what you're actually seeing is some washed up has-been D-list actors really acting self-important and potentially being a little thirsty towards the youngest actress on the table read. I don't know.
Well, my man, Daniel Jackson, was definitely trying to lay down the pipe. No doubt about it. The way he was just like, oh, wow, I just find that really interesting that our two characters have actually never interacted before. I just think that's really, really interesting.
Yeah. And she responds with I had a restraining order against you. The producers didn't tell you, but... Yeah, the way she responded to it was kind of funny. She didn't change her expression on her face at all. You know when usually, you say something to someone, their expression will change based on what you just said? She held the exact same expression after he said it. She's like, yeah, we didn't, did we?
Daniel's like, I'm the most important guy here. So,
Yeah. So the script that they're table reading, quote unquote, was generated by an AI. That is the big to do about this production. First of all, do you think that's actually true? And if you do believe it's true, what do you think the odds are that this is actually going to be a good story?
Well, I think it'll be an all right story because it's Brad Wright, and I'm sure it's an AI that's been fed every single piece of Stargate thing there is out there. So
yeah, but it's not
I
Brad
think they
Wright,
probably
it's an AI, right? That's what you have.
Yeah,
to
but Brad Wright probably picked from 20 or whatever of the things that pushed out or whatever, see what the best one was. So
that's a good question. We need some fucking details on exactly how
it would
much
be nice, but
is human input on this.
I think it all depends on the actor's input.
I
because
thought
just
that
based on the trailer, I thought I was like, all right, well, Daniel is actually there. Carter's actually there, even though she's, no offense, older. So I haven't really seen an older Carter like actually officially on screen. So it's kind of like disenchanting to see her with, you know,
yeah.
that look and no haircut and all that stuff. But Daniel Jackson, all he really has to do, he had the same haircut, the glasses on, which I'm pretty sure is his natural look, which is weird. But
I think he
yeah,
became Daniel Jackson in real life.
he did kind of, and he also had the rolled up sleeves.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like, okay, so he's there, like he was there in like actual character, you know, so it was really believable for him. What's her name? The attractive one.
Jewel State.
What's her name?
Jewel State is the actress's name. I forget
Jewel
her
State?
character's name. It's the doctor of Atlantis for the final
Arguably,
2 seasons. Final 2.
There wasn't a lot to show in the trailer of her, but what I did see, wasn't really impressed.
No.
But and then there was McKay, which what there was even less of actually acting, and he kind of seemed a little over the top in the one section of the scene they showed him. And so I'm going to give them all the benefit of the doubt, but it seemed pretty like B grade, you know?
Oh yeah. And out of all of the little segments they showed with them doing their lines, honestly, the only one that seemed decent was Carter's. And like you said, her visual appearance is a little disenchanting, as you put it. Like, and she looks okay for her age. Like,
I was gonna say, I'm gonna correct myself. I think it was the camera view because she was close up on her face. There was no like
bad lighting,
even a half body shot. Like you didn't get to see any of her like wardrobe. Like put it in there a little bit more.
She didn't look like Carter except for her face. But her face still didn't really look like Carter. It looked like, an approximation of her. Like the AI created this new Carter. That happens.
Whoa. What if?
The acting portrayal was good though. Like her facial expressions were spot on. Like she really acted. The other ones felt like they were just like being like, haha, yeah, let's read a line. But she actually seemed like she was seriously acting.
Yeah. Well, they're the most seasoned actors for sure, but out of the bunch.
Yeah, and I think the most notable thing about this are the people that are absent. Obviously, Richard Dean Anderson. Also, I always forget his name, but the main character from Atlantis. He loves Stargate, so you know that he'd be down. So there must be some reason they didn't invite him or something.
White male.
He loves Stargate. Like he tried to buy the franchise from MGM, dude. He made a legit offer and tried to buy it. He almost did. It's kind of crazy story. I don't know if you ever heard about that.
I did, I think.
Yeah, it's nuts. But the point is, not only those two, but then we have obviously Ronan Dex, who you knew would never do this in a billion years. But it would have been crazy if he did for some reason. And like, can you imagine?
Jason Momoa.
Can you imagine the emails they probably sent to his publicist begging him to come on? Like, I'll bet probably 4 actors and Brad Wright himself are all sending like begging emails to the publicist, like, come on, please. We started his career.
Really weird too, because this would be a textbook perfect equation for like blockbusters back in the day. You got a dormant series with a cult following, an actor that started his career in it, now in the peak of his career, he could circle back, bring the show into the mainstream with like a blockbuster movie easily.
Oh, dude, no doubt. But we would have a Stargate Atlantis movie tomorrow if Jason Momoa signed a paper today.
Mm-hmm.
No fucking doubt. Like a high budget good one, not like some made for TV movie like the Stargate SG-1 movies.
Are any of the old actors, like, I mean, if any of the old original movie actors got behind it too, like
that one I'm not as sure of, because Kurt Russell's really old. People love Kurt Russell
though, dude.
And James Spader's obviously the GOAT, but he is really old too, and I don't think he likes Stargate. Like, I don't think it's on his like list of accomplishments. Let's put it that way.
That's bullshit.
I know, but some actors are like that with something. Just look like fucking Jason Momoa. I don't think he likes Stargate. In fact, I think he wishes he could erase himself from Atlantis. I think he does.
Come on. Stargate is a great franchise.
He's like never been to a single convention. He's never talked about Stargate since he left it like publicly ever. Like, I don't think he likes it. I think he's trying to like hide from it.
So, well, I think they went to sci-fi. Big mistake. Big mistake.
Yes.
No one escapes the stigma of sci-fi.
So what did you think about Mark Evan Jackson, the director of this little endeavor, who they credit as actor / Stargate fan? I don't know why that cracked me the fuck up when I saw that.
I mean, good for him. Pats on the back, multiple pats on the back.
Do you think on his IMDb it lists his credit as actor / Stargate fan? That would be so good. Like, what? Someone got credited as a fan of something as a fucking credit?
That's how you know that they're not confident in what they're doing. They're just like, you can't be the producer, the writer, the director, or anything like that. You can't be good with that. You gotta be like, and fan, so people know you mean business. Like, don't worry, guys, he's not gonna fuck this up. He's a fan too.
Have you ever seen him in anything?
It's kind of like J.J. Abrams, when he was doing Star Wars. He's like, guys, I'm like totally down with Star Wars. I get it, okay? Like,
I'm a fan.
I'm chill, okay?
Have you seen Mark Evan Jackson in anything?
No, he looks familiar. Like,
he was in a show I watched on NBC, like some shitty sitcom, The Good Place. He was in The Good Place.
I definitely didn't watch that, so.
No, it wasn't that great. I mean, Ted Danson was pretty awesome in it at first, but he, like, towards the end, which happens with all these sitcoms, they start to suck so bad in the final season. If you look at the final seasons of all these generic sitcoms on television, like, they're some of the worst dreck you've ever seen in your life.
Well, that's why I'm happy to say on air that I haven't owned a television and had any form of cable hooked up to a screen in a decade and a half, maybe even more.
Yeah. But do you own a streaming service, Broadcaster Nickels? How unplugged are you? How are you even viewing things? Do you just?
Well, I have Amazon Prime, so technically, I do have a streaming service.
Yeah. Yep, I just have Amazon and Netflix and other stuff. I will get through other means.
I use somebody else's Netflix account for the past 8 years or so.
Nice. Is it mine?
I'm seniored in.
Wait a second, is it
no
mine?
one will ever know.
Oh man,
that information is classified.
So what do you think they're trying to do here with this thing? Like, this is obviously, it feels like a joke when you watch the trailer. It seems very like righteous. It's almost like a self-righteous project, it feels like, a little bit, like, especially with the tone of the music that they play in the background, and like the way after the trailer's done, they like have this weird little segment at the end where it's like people being like, this is the greatest thing ever. It's like, Stargate or GateWorld.com says everyone in the world must watch this tomorrow. Like, you're just like, okay. Is this a parody? Like, it felt kind of parody-ish a little bit, like not quite, but borderline. So is this to drum up like support for a new show, or is this to be monetized somehow? Like, do they think this itself is going to be a hit? Like, what do you think this is intended to do?
Well, I was going to bring this up earlier because it's rather, I think it's just Brad Wright in his ego, because COVID has like probably stopped like both, because I remember he had a big announcement for Stargate a while ago.
Right before the pandemic. I think it canned it.
Yeah.
I think this whole thing canned his new
Yeah.
Stargate.
And I think there was one before that as well. Like a while before that.
That might have been Travelers, the Netflix show. That ended
something like that
4 years ago, I want to say, like 2017, I think that ended. Maybe 2018.
Yeah, so I think he's just, this is like his trying to keep the fire alive, right? This is like his last torch.
Yeah. So you think this is really just Brad Wright trying to stay relevant until he can make something again? Is that it?
Yeah.
That's a good one. I wasn't even going there, but I think you might be right.
Well, I mean, think about it. The guy has not been able to get Stargate into the mainstream and ever. Not since the original movie. And he wasn't even a part of that. Was he?
No, not at all. No.
Yeah.
Honestly, when Stargate came out, Brad Wright was fucking in the thick of doing The Outer Limits, which is one of my favorite TV shows of all time.
Yeah.
It's weird because as much as I love Stargate SG-1, I sometimes go back and forth on if I like Outer Limits more. But then I go back and watch Outer Limits, and there are some episodes that are really bad that I forgot about, where I'm like, okay, SG-1's bad episodes aren't as bad as Outer Limits bad episodes, so give the nod to SG-1.
But Outer Limits is fucking OG. That's...
It is. It was really... There's some episodes of The Outer Limits, the 90s version. I never watched... Did you ever watch the black and white Outer Limits?
Not really.
Yeah, I never did. I watched the Twilight Zone. A lot of the Twilight Zone.
I think I watched a couple, though.
Outer Limits. Not me, man. But I'll say right now, for anyone listening to this that's never seen the 90s Outer Limits, just go download the first 2 episodes, or maybe it's the first episode. It's Sand Kings. It's Beau Bridge, the guy who became the general at the end of SG-1 when Don
Bridges.
S. Davis quit or whatever. Yeah, Beau Bridges.
That's Jeff Bridges' brother.
Yep, it is, and he's in the first pilot episode of The Outer Limits, and that episode is actually an adaptation of a fucking George R.R. Martin book.
Yeah.
In a really good, it's a fucking great episode of science fiction. Like, it's really fucking good. I've rewatched it several times. Every time I watch it, I like it more. So it's aging really well, and I'd recommend anyone go watch at least just that. And if you do continue from there, brace yourself, because there's some misses for sure. But yeah, so no Teal'c, no Colonel O'Neill. Just a lot of...
I didn't really expect Richard Dean Anderson.
I don't get why he's like doing nothing. Like, just fucking show.
He's, we're talking about the powerful Richard Dean Anderson here, but he's a thick boy now.
He is.
He's kind of like, I kind of almost respect his hesitancy to come into the role again, because he's really out of shape and he doesn't want to ruin the image of Colonel O'Neill. So
it's a good point. That might be it. He might be self-aware enough to actually
his legacy. It's one of the biggest things of his legacy. That and MacGyver. So it's like, why would he come back as super overweight? And especially if he might have a health problem, he might not be able to help it. So it's like, if he doesn't have the ability to get back in shape, it's, don't do it. Just don't do it.
Yeah. I'm guessing that any future Stargate show, no matter how good it is or how much money's behind it, isn't going to get RDA to come back. I feel like he is just there's no price. Yeah, I would say everyone has a price. I think there's no price with him. I think he's out.
Yeah, dude, some actors are kind of just like that, you got those Daniel Day-Lewis genes.
Yeah. Yeah. You think that some of these actors, though, didn't want to do it because they knew how corny and cheesy and sea-level it was going to be? Like Teal'c, Christopher Judge is a great example, because he doesn't hate Stargate. Like, he's into it still, and he's open to doing it still. Like, he's talked about it and shit. But for him to not show up, to me, It means, I don't know. I think he thinks it might damage Stargate, and that's why he doesn't want to be a part of it.
Yeah. Well, also keep in mind, it could be a schedule conflict.
Maybe, but how busy is he?
Well, new God of War.
Yeah, but that's all
You'll be doing
virtual
the
now, dude. They set these
I'm just
voice
saying,
actors
who
up in
knows?
like they send mini studios to actors' houses that are professionally set up for them to
Dude.
record their shit virtually now.
How about Christopher fucking Judge, dude? Maybe he's busy fucking laying it down. Who knows?
laying
dude?
pipe?
You know,
He's
like
just laying pipe all day.
maybe this guy turns his fucking cell phone off and flies to Taiwan. Who knows? You know?
Yeah.
Who knows? But I think it was cheesy because of the lack of actors. I don't think it was because in itself it was some AI generated table episode.
Interesting.
Because in all honesty, if everybody was there and in the perfect conditions, you know, all the original actors were there and it was a solid written episode, it would just came off as a regular table read that they probably would have done for every single episode they did before, and we just got to see it happen. You know, it was recorded for us. So I wouldn't have expected it to be anything more. I guess, like, since I'm hungry for Stargate, I probably would have, like, really paid attention to it and wanted it to be a little bit more, but I mean, it's just a fucking table read.
It is. That's the thing. Like, I think that they should have never released a trailer for this. I think they should have just done it, and when it was done, just drop it on YouTube and don't say anything. You know what I mean? I think that was the move here.
The only reason we're even talking about this is because they made a trailer for it.
That's true, but like think about we're huge hardcore like fucking upper percentile Stargate fans, the two of us, and we're talking a lot of shit here. So that if that tells you anything, it's not exactly a great strategy in my opinion. I don't know though. Maybe we're just curmudgeon-y and like all the other nerds out there like Stargate are like, this is the greatest thing ever. You think that's true? Are we just jaded, Broadcaster Nickels?
You're jaded, not me, dude.
Don't bring me into this. I gave it a thumbs up, bruh. All right, Broadcaster Nickels. I'm not impressed, and I'm going to watch it anyway, and I'm hoping that I'm wrong, but I really got bad vibes from those. I watched the trailer twice, and the second time actually bothered me more than the first, so. That being said, Broadcaster Nickels, are you ready to get to our disturbing review of something that is going to change the way we look at horror entertainment for all time? Candyman. Jordan Peele's Candyman. Correct me. Correct me, Broadcaster Nickels.
More like candy ass.
What's that? You want more Crack Cellar? This is good. Join your lords on Twitter at The Crack Cellar and Facebook.com/The Crack Cellar.
Hey, you over there. Are you a straight-up Chad or a strong woman? Well, you can find us on Apple Podcasts and your favorite podcasting app. Or, if you're a straight-up beta cuck, find us on YouTube with the rest of the Cloud Chasers. And we're back with our review of Jordan Peele's Candyman. And, today, Broadcaster Nickels...
Can we just talk about how hard it is to be a struggling artist in the city where white people exist?
Old Whitey. Always ruining everything, isn't he, Broadcaster Nickels?
Did you know, fun fact, in Candyman 2021, fun fact, only white people die.
You know what, Broadcaster Nickels? Let me get to this hypnosis before you spoil everything. God! In present day, many years after the last of the Cabrini Towers were torn down, Anthony and his partner move into a loft in the new, gentrified Cabrini. A chance encounter with an old-timer exposes Anthony to the true story behind Candyman. Anxious to use these macabre details in his studio as fresh grist for paintings, he unknowingly opens a door to a complex past that unravels his own sanity and unleashes a terrifying wave of violence. And also, Black Lives Matter. Broadcaster Nickels.
I had to look up the word macabre. I was like, what does this mean?
What does this mean? What it means is Clive Barker is rolling in his fucking grave. That's what, first of all, I just want to open up with this.
Is Clive Barker dead? What?
This movie killed him, Broadcaster Nickels. This movie came out and Clive Barker mysteriously died. Everyone thought it was the COVID vaccine, but no. It was Jordan Peele's Candyman.
Nah, dude.
So,
Jordan Peele wouldn't do that. He killed Clive Barker, man.
This is a dark day, Broadcaster Nickels. You know, we have a lot of really trashy horror movies nowadays. They're everywhere. And the low-quality spattering of blood on the $60
really
Walmart televisions. You know, some of them are, some of them aren't. But they're all bad, Broadcaster Nickels.
Yeah.
And you know what wasn't bad? Clive Barker's Books of Blood, which it's a classic, and it included the story of Candyman. The original story of Candyman was written by our boy, Clive Barker. And what has been done to this story is, I mean, disheartening doesn't quite cover it. It shatters your soul if you're a fan of the actual original Candyman and the original source material. Because not only does Jordan Peele completely twist this story into something it isn't, totally reverse on certain canon, and just kind of shits over everything except for the tiny bits that he wants to keep to create his little Black Lives Matter movie. It's just not a good movie. Period. Like, I've seen woke movies that are decent movies, like Knives Out is a good example. Like, that was a movie that was a woke movie made by a woke asshole that was good, and I'll freely admit that. This is quite the opposite. This is just like, the best part of this movie was the intro crawl, where it was showing the upside down skyscrapers in the fog. That was the only good part of this movie, Broadcaster Nickels.
You know, I think the movie was just a flaming pile of dog shit, to be honest. You know, maybe I'm just a white man, but
well,
it's really hard to watch a movie that has an agenda. In this movie, well, it just says it right off the bat with a little shadow puppet show.
Yeah.
You know, like, how cringe was that? Fucking get down, freeze. It's just like, no, sir. It's a fucking, how old is that kid in that flashback? He must have been 7, 8, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what you're doing? You're in a dark room doing fucking shadow puppet show yourself to watch, pretending a cop beating your ass in the streets? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't. There are good parts of the movie, though.
I know what scene you're gonna say. It's the bathroom scene, right? That's what you're gonna say. Okay, I'll give you that. It was okay.
Honestly, that was the only scene where I thought a black person was going to die, and I was like, "Nope, all the white bitches."
Fooled you, bitch. Yeah. Wow. So we start off in like that gentrified apartment with the couple and the gay brother. And
yeah. The dinner date.
Yeah. And he tells them this really kind of fast and loose version of the original events of Candyman. And from there, we just go on this journey with our boy Morpheus, who, ladies and gentlemen, he is now your Morpheus. So good luck to us all and Godspeed. He just goes to Cabrini Green.
Actor, to be honest.
His acting wasn't bad. I didn't think it was good or bad. I thought it was kind of middle of the road.
I thought his delivery of the iconic line was good. I thought it, I thought it was one of the only parts they show that was aight.
Okay, yeah, sure. One of the shocking things about this movie wasn't anything to do with the movie itself, but how fucking good Vanessa Williams still looks. She plays his mom, and I'm like looking at her like, damn, she's like a fucking gilf and a half, man. What is she doing?
Black no crack?
Not for her, apparently.
Most of the time.
Asterisk. So our boy Morpheus, he's roaming around the abandoned houses of Cabrini Green, the slums, and he runs into Coleman Domingo, my boy from Fear the Walking Dead, who is a great actor. I love him.
Great actor, yep.
Yeah, he's good in everything I've ever seen him in, and he tells him the story about Candyman and what happened with what was that guy's name? Sherman?
Yeah.
Basically the BLM sacrifice. So basically what they do is they kind of retcon Candyman not to being a story about a slave that haunts for eternity, like it originally was. No, it becomes like this, oh no, Candyman is just an idea, like Antifa. That's what it becomes. And Sherman was like, one of 9 different Candymans, and he wasn't Candyman when they thought he was Candyman. He became Candyman after they killed him for being Candyman, which, I'm one who can accept some logical leaps. I can do it. I watch a lot of science fiction, but
it's not the worst, flip. I'll tell you that. It's not like the worst rewrite of an existing IP I've ever heard.
I could not, like, when he came out of the wall and opened up his hand and gave him candy and then told him to shush and all that, I'm just sitting here like, bro.
Who does that?
No one does that. And he was already dressed as the Candyman before he was supposedly the candy. Like, I'm just like, bitch, that guy should have been in like a fucking really dirty wife beater with like an old raggedy jacket and some fucking, shorts or something. Like, that's not, he should not have been dressed like the Candyman before he was the Candyman or knew who the Candyman was.
Well, the thing is, too, is that he actually had a hook hand.
Yes!
Like a handicapped hook hand.
Yes!
Which made it not make even more sense.
Zero!
I'm like, okay, so he has a hook hand. That's why he got an actual, like, fish hook when he died and he could cut people's throats. But where's the story to that? Because he was innocent. So why does he have a fucking actual fish, like ice pick hook, as a weapon? And what were the other Candymen? It just made me ask. I was like, so did all the other Candyman have just hooks on their right hand? And it's just a coincidence that he was actually handicapped in his right hand? Like,
yeah.
Because there was actually a story in the original Candyman.
Yes,
so
and
why?
And it was totally shit on in this remake. Like this was supposed to be a sequel. This is not a sequel. It's a remake with a very pathetic cameo at the very end for 3 seconds where Tony Todd, man, God bless his soul. I hope they paid him a lot of money because what he did to his legacy by doing what he did at the end of this movie, I feel for him, man. Like, he is Candyman. Like, I've seen him in a bunch of other things, but he is Candyman. That's what he's known for. And for him to just like, he basically put his stamp of approval on this movie. That's what they paid for him to do. Like, it wasn't like, we really want him in the movie. They're like, no, we can validate our movie if we just get him in for a second, because then people will be like, oh no, that means he's on board. And this is, it's, you know, it was total just a money-making thing. Like, they knew that if he was in it, that people would accept it more, even though it's a flaming pile of dog shit, as you said earlier.
I honestly thought Tony Todd was CGI'd in. At the end there,
like Moff Tarkin.
Honestly, for real, he didn't look. It didn't look like it was actually him.
No, it looked a little
like
weird.
It looked like they were turning. I'm sorry. The guy's a good actor. He just has a hard name to pronounce. I don't have it pulled up.
Who?
But, the guy that played Anthony, the new Candyman.
Oh yeah, Yahya Abdul Mateen II.
Okay, you got it. Anyways, I look like they were CGIing over his face to make him look like Tony Todd at the end.
Man, I wonder if you're right now. Well, he's credited, so I don't think so. But man, when you say it, I kind of buy it, because he did look off. Like, there was something weird about how he looked.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, our retconned Candyman, who in 1977 was accused of putting razor blades in Halloween candy and then apparently killed by the police, he becomes Candyman. And then when the 80s roll around, / early 90s, and Tony Todd's Candyman's supposed to be there, we're just supposed to believe that, you know,
nothing happened.
Okay, you canonize him as the original Candyman, but then you create this storyline in which they change all the time. But then you're like, he comes back randomly in the 90s, even though he's already been changed 10 times since then? Like, did they have a Candyman that didn't pass, like, the purity test, so they kicked him out of Candyman Land? I don't...
Oh, man.
I don't know, man. Like... This movie bothered me on like a base level. I was clenching my fist the entire time I watched it. I wanted to turn it off so bad, but I had to finish it for science. And fuck me, man.
What happens when you try? I mean, it's a hard thing to do, no matter who you are, to like take a very tight, established storyline that hasn't been touched for a long time and not try to make a sequel or a reboot or an origin, you know, something on either side, or a whole new timeline to begin with. You actually try to take the existing timeline, cut it open, and insert your little story and try to make it make sense, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work.
No.
It's never going to work. You're never going to be able to connect all the lines, you know, the muscle, you know, like... It's never going to work like it used to.
Yeah, you know, if they really wanted to make this putrid BLM fucking version reboot of Candyman, they should have totally cut from the original material. They should have not had Tony Todd. There should be no mention of Bloody Mary. It should just totally be disconnected from that. They could have kept 90% of their movie exactly as it was and just cut those little tiny ties they put in to validate the movie, and I wouldn't have been nearly as mad. It would have been a bad movie, but they wouldn't have been totally just taking a cosmic shit on the original Candyman by claiming it's a sequel.
Right. Yeah, the movie definitely would have been treated better if it was like a reboot. If they were just straight up like, this is just a new beginning for Candyman. We're trying to modernize Candyman, you know?
Yeah, and this is just like the most race baiting movie I've ever seen in my life.
Dude, it's all race bait.
The entire thing.
That's why I led with it. Like I think it was like 3/4 of the way through the movie, I was just like, all white people have died.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not even like hiding it. Like, especially in the bathroom scene. All the white bitches, like all the teens, girls, it's like, wow.
Yep.
All the white chicks died and the black girl didn't. She just conveniently. And see, this is something also I didn't really understand. So Sherman, who is supposed to be this innocent, sweet man with a hook,
He just innocent, sweet man hiding in the walls with candy.
Passing candy out, definitely diddling some kids, no doubt. But
you see that smile he gave that kid? I would have ran so fast. That smile's the creepiest thing in the movie.
And so this is what I'm talking about, right? So like, he's supposed to be innocent, but when he dies, he's only murdering people in the hood.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
What the hell? I thought you were supposed to be going after, like, you're vengeful, right? Like, and then fast forward to, Anthony's Candyman, and it's like, that's the twist at the end, It's like, this Candyman's going to be fighting for justice, Like, I'm going to kill all the white cops and not kill my girlfriend that was literally about to leave me high and dry because I went psycho a little bit and made some paintings. You didn't even try to give me a chance. You just were like, saw a psychiatrist, and you were like, your gay brother, and you're just like, yeah, that's a good idea. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah, that girlfriend, quite the character arc on her, huh? She goes from like leaving him for just making stuff that she thinks is offensive, but then when she finds out he literally has been murdering people and is now going to do it full time, she like fully embraces him. Like, oh, now you're cool.
Yep. Well, no, let's not forget the racist ass cop that was about to blackmail her too. Like, she's like, well, this is the best scenario right now. I'll use my ex-boyfriend, eternal demon poltergeist. Candyman.
Yeah, I did like the fact that the bee sting is what started it.
Definitely. I mean,
that was cool.
Never explained though.
Never explained, but like, I like it as just like this sort of like, oh yeah, that I see where you're going with that. Like, yeah, Candyman, bees, honey, I get it.
The thing is though, where are the dots connected?
There are no dots. There are only triangles.
Yeah, this is the problem with this movie. Is I think they tried to connect too many things and they circled back too many times. Because if you really think about it, from start to finish, he gets stung. So you're like, okay, Candyman exists already. He is now changing him into Candyman. But then, what's his name? Your boy from Walking Dead.
Oh, yeah, Fear of the Walking Dead, yeah. Coleman Domingo. I think his character was named Burke. Was that what it was?
Yeah, Burke ends up being a psychopath that is somehow trying to change Anthony into Candyman?
So he's a beekeeper, right? So he's the one who sent his bee to sting him.
Oh, he's a beekeeper? Yeah. Did I miss that?
No, you didn't. I'm filling in the writing for Jordan Peele because he didn't feel like doing it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because I don't know. I was waiting for that moment in the movie where it's just like, like Candyman was going to come out and be like, "Good job, Burke." Stab, but no, he did get stabbed, but it didn't make any sense. He just chopped Anthony's hand off after clearly he was already turning into Candyman, didn't need any help. He's like, no, you're going to get a hook.
Here's your hook, buddy.
Like, what?
Yeah, I had a lot of questions there. I was like, did you give Sherman his hook too? Like what? Were you 2 years old and you're like, hey, dude, here's a hook. Yeah. Become Candyman, bro.
The only thing I could think was that he was supposed to be the new Mad Mary or something like that. Is that what Bloody Mary? Was that her name?
Well, I kind of say that tongue in cheek. Helen was the main character of the original Candyman, the white girl. Yeah. I call her Bloody Mary just because the legend of Bloody Mary is really close to the way she's portrayed in Candyman. They kind of intersect a little bit. So that's kind of how I always think of her in my head, but she's not actually Bloody Mary.
Sure. But that's what I thought they were trying to do with him. It's like, okay, so now he's the crazy dude. He's about to make... I said, because when he woke up initially and he was just like, all right, we got the sacrifice or whatever. And I was like, oh, so he's going to try to banish Candyman. he realizes that Candyman's getting out again, and he's gonna sacrifice one of these motherfuckers so Candyman doesn't get back out. But that wasn't it.
Nope.
That's where my immediate thoughts. The beekeeper thing would have been a lot cooler and a nice touch, by the way. It would have been a really cool touch.
Yeah, you know, this whole ending was so contrived. It was just an excuse to get a cop situation brewing for the Black Lives Matter ending. Everything that happens here is just like they do Coleman Domingo dirty. Yeah. Like
how did she not die? The angle in which they come, well, the shadow on the wall and the way they would have to shoot down at him, like she would have to, like, what? That didn't make any fucking sense, dude.
No, well, no, and like fucking Burke's plan, which like he becomes the villain of the movie, and his whole master plan was to make him become Candyman, then have the cops kill him to quote unquote reclaim the legend of Candyman as some vengeance thing. I don't know, some sort of Sasuke line from Naruto, like, I am the instrument of vengeance, or whatever the fuck he was talking about. And dude, when he, like, just to go back to that, when he saws off Anthony's hand and replaces with the hook, that was some of the most cartoonish shit I've ever seen in a horror movie. I kind of expected Bugs Bunny to pop out. There's nothing horrifying about it.
The ending was probably the hardest thing because it really cemented.
Yes.
It really cemented the agenda of the movie, because at the beginning it was cringe too, but it slowly became, like I said, like we were talking about earlier. If we just embrace it as just a reboot, it'd be received a lot better. And I was trying to take it for that for a long time, because the cinematography and most of the acting in the movie is good. It's solid. Some of the scenes are well choreographed and stuff like that. They're not. It doesn't come off as a schlocky or like B movie. It's just a poorly written movie, and yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought there. But
well, writing is definitely the worst part of this movie. The direction's okay, the acting's okay, the music's okay, the cinematography's okay. There's nothing really bad about it except for the story and the lines and the dialogue and situations in which they are all contrived, politically based, agenda-driven nonsense that have no basis in the original story of Candyman whatsoever.
Yeah, they had to cap it off with such a like red flag, like double red flags. They're just like, look, like 8 white cops came in and shot Candyman when he was already dying on his ex-girlfriend's lap. Now he's gonna murder him. And then at the end, that's the weirdest part, dude. He's like, now that Anthony's Candyman, he's gonna only kill white people.
Mm-hmm.
Candyman has changed, even though the last Candyman got beat down by a bunch of white cops.
Mm-hmm.
And got falsely accused.
But he was cool with them. He's an Uncle Tom Candyman.
Instead, he was like, "No, I'm gonna only murder black people in the hood." Like,
oh
what?
My God. The holes in this movie's plot are wide. They are very wide. And when the police come in and they shoot Anthony, and the movie basically ends. Those cops are like, honestly, the way those cops are portrayed in this movie reminds me of black exploitation movies from like the 50s or whatever. 60s maybe. Where they would make black people say the most like racist, embarrassing shit, like stereotype, like really embarrassing stereotype type stuff. They would make black actors say in those black exploitation movies. This is white exploitation we're going into now. Like, these cops were basically that. They were the 2021 version of that. I feel bad for them as actors. How embarrassed are you if you're that cop who was like the main speaking cop at the very end? Like how cringy his lines were towards her. Just like,
oh my god, just
how are you gonna
blackmail like just right off the bat?
How are you gonna put that on your highlight reel as an actor? Are you gonna show that to someone? I'd bury that shit. I'd pretend I was never in that fucking movie.
No, my buddy just shot straight at you, at your dead boyfriend on your lap, and somehow miraculously didn't kill you. But,
yeah.
We're going to go with he leapt at him. Or we blackmail you. Wow.
Yeah.
Such creativity. Just like, that's hard writing skills right there, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and also
through.
Also creative is the girlfriend using the fucking rear view mirror or whatever to call Candyman. Like, when you saw that, were you just like rolling your eyes as hard as I was? Like, all of a sudden, this bitch goes from like a normal woman who doesn't believe in bullshit and thinks her husband is like becoming a murderer and painting
murder. She went from Scully to Mueller real quick.
Oh, great way of putting it. Yes, that's exactly what happened. Like, to this point, she just is like, you know what? I'm on board 100%. And she just fucking does the Candyman chant in the rear view mirror. And then her boyfriend shows up as Candyman. And granted, I love the cinematography used in his kill sequence on the cops. The way it looked visually was really cool. No, all the way up until our boy, the OG, shows up.
I think him being summoned as Candyman and murdering all those people is pretty cool, especially when he was delivering the lines. But then when I saw Tony Todd,
yeah,
it was probably the worst part of the movie for me because I'm just like, so what's going on here? What's happening in this whole fucking movie? What year is it?
Yeah,
like give me because I thought it was modern. I thought we were looking at 2020 or 2021 here. Clearly, we're not because Tony Todd hasn't even begun to start and kill people. Apparently,
yeah. So basically, it's her boyfriend at first killing all the cops, and there's like one cop left, right? And she sees him through the fence, and then he like kills it, and he turns towards her, and oh boy, it's not him, it's Tony Todd, and he's like, "Tell them about me," or what does he say? "Tell everyone."
He's like, "Tell everyone."
And I'm just like, I'd like someone to tell me who the fuck put PCP in the writer's room water supply of this fucking movie. So now you're going to tell me that he's the first Candyman, but then the torch is passed up. Then this fucking weirdo in the 70s becomes Candyman. And then but then mysteriously in the 80s/90s, Daniel Robitante becomes Candyman again. But then later he stops being Candyman again. And then right when this new guy becomes Candyman in 2021, 2 minutes later, I can't even say it without laughing. 2 minutes later, fucking Daniel Robitale becomes Candyman again. Like, okay, does anything matter?
Hey man, I thought it was Tony Todd.
That's his character's name.
Oh,
is Daniel Robitale? Yeah, that's his character's name in Candyman.
Dude, you're so fucking in the know.
Dude, Candyman's my favorite horror movie. Well, it's like in my top 3. It's in my holy trilogy. I go Nightmare on Elm Street, Hellraiser, Candyman. That's it. Like, that's my holy trinity. And I revered this movie. I've seen Candyman, the original Candyman, probably like 30 times. I've seen Candyman 2 like a dozen times, which wasn't as good, but, you know, I'll
tell you something that was pretty racist about Candyman. When you really think about it, if you really think about it, he's the only mask you don't see around. No one does a Candyman costume for Halloween. They got Michael Myers, they got Jason, they get, fucking, Freddy Krueger. They got, I don't think I've ever seen a Candyman costume. Think about it.
It's sad, and this movie ain't gonna fix that either.
No, definitely not. This movie cemented its fate as being a non-Halloween costume forever.
I think the absolute most heartbreaking part of all this is that about 10 years ago, Clive Barker was working on a true Candyman, I guess it was going to be a reboot as well, but it was going to be a reboot of his vision from his original story. Clive Barker was going to make the real Candyman from his real original story. And it just got mysteriously shut down out of nowhere. No one talked about it. I know when Tony Todd was asked at conventions, he was really tight-lipped about it, and he wouldn't really say what happened. But to know that that was going to be a thing, and then 10 years later to be offered this turd ducket, I don't have words for how disappointing that is. Like, this is one of the most heartbreaking moments in cinema history for me. This whole situation was just avoidable, and now...
Don't take the check, Todd.
Oh man, I was really hoping he wasn't going to be like this is so funny. When I first started watching the movie, I'm like, I hope Tony Todd shows up. I hope Tony Todd shows up. Then by the time we got to the end, I was like, please God, don't let Tony Todd show up. Please God, don't let Tony Todd show up.
It looks like I'm looking at some information here. It looks like they have a Blu-ray extended version coming out.
Oh boy!
And, looks like Tony Todd's line is going to be extended. It's going to say, "Tell everyone that I got paid a shit ton of money to do this." That's what I guess that reportedly is what the full line is. I can't confirm right now. But...
And then Dave Chappelle's face shows up and he goes, "I'm rich, biatch." Like Ed Boon from Mortal Kombat.
No, that was Donnell Simmons.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Got to give Donnell credit.
R.I.P. Donnell.
Did Candyman kill Donnell too? What happened?
No, he got pretty fucked up. Yeah, you see him on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh yeah,
that's the last time I saw him, and then I saw him on Kill Tony, and he was not doing good either. So
yeah,
he got murdered on Kill Tony actually.
I remember that night. That was one of the first Kill Tonys that I actually ever saw, I think, was the one he got murdered on. All right, Broadcaster Nickels. Well, do you have any other thoughts on this labor of love from Jordan Peele?
Jordan, get back with your boy, Key. That's all I gotta say. 'Cause you absolutely ruined a franchise on your first try.
On your first try?
That's, typically they take people like you out back in the old days. That's not racist. I'm just saying. People like you get a bullet in the back of the head for fucking up. It's mafia shit.
The ultimate sin of a horror movie is that it doesn't scare you at all. Not once. And this movie...
None of those movies scare you, though. They're all thrillers now. They're psychological thrillers.
Well, a lot of them are, but there are still genuine horror movies out there, and I really was hoping this might be one of them, and I was sorely mistaken. There is some token gore and blood and violence and kills in this, but it doesn't really make up for the horrible writing. Like, there's nothing super original about any of the kills. Like, one thing that was really cool about the 80s and 90s horror boom is that, sure, there was a lot of schlocky horror sequels. I've seen every single Nightmare on Elm Street 3 times, at least, probably more on some of them, especially the original. I've seen that one way more. The cool thing about these as they progressed is that they would get interesting with the way they killed people. Like, in every Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy was killing every kid differently. Like, it wasn't like a repeat.
The guy was a mindless juggernaut, whacking children.
like the third one, I think of it, the Dream Warriors, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 specifically. I remember when I watched that, I couldn't believe it how out there the kills were. Like, they just went through some some crazy, unique, thoughtful ways to murder kids. And I really appreciated that as a kid. You know, if I want to be killed by, I want to be killed uniquely.
See, in our day, kids were expendable.
They were. We were.
Right. We had television shows that literally almost fought to the death. Dude, if you really think back to it, dude, Legend of the Hidden Temple, they make these kids run across the fucking pool on like a roped up fucking boogie boards. And these kids would just be going like careening towards each other, just slamming into the water.
How many times do you think kids cried on that show behind the scenes?
And then let's not forget about them getting abducted if they fucked up at the last round, right?
Oh yeah, the evil Mayan guards would come out and abduct them. Dude. I forgot about that. That was some sinister shit. Damn.
Expendable back then, dude. You fucking
yeah. That's true, man. They were. Now they're the emperors of the world.
Aren't they?
They don't make horror movies where kids die anymore, really. It's weird. All horror movies now have adults. You never see, like, anything that's a horror movie with kids in it is always like rated PG or PG-13, and it's not a real horror movie. They don't like to kill kids anymore in Hollywood.
Think horror's in, dude.
Fuck no, it's not. This movie proves it. This movie's dancing on the grave of horror, Broadcaster Nickels.
I think, like I said earlier, things need to get really shitty. I've come to understand that when things get really shitty, get really tight, those molecules start rubbing together, and then things explode. Then we're going to have some good horror again, right? Then Clive Barker will be like, yeah, I'll make you a Candyman. And we'll be like, fuck yeah. We're ready for it. We'll probably be 50. He'll probably be 90. How old is he?
That guy's probably, yeah, he's like pushing 70 for sure. He's old.
He's 69 right now. Nice.
So you're saying there's a chance. All right, Broadcaster Nickels. As you know, here in the Crack Cellar, we do have a system in which you have created a ranking score based off of the illustrious career of one Nicolas Cage, your namesake. On that system, Broadcaster Nickels, what do you rate Jordan Peele's Candyman? And by the way, I'm being specific to call it Jordan Peele's Candyman because I do not want to associate.
Just call it Candyman 2021.
That's funny you say that because that's actually kind of a low-key insult now. Whenever you call like a movie this, but with the current year on it, it's almost like a low-key diss. They used to do that with Ghostbusters. Remember the female Ghostbusters? They call it like Ghostbusters 2016 or whenever the fuck it came out. Anyway, what are you going to give this
Ghost Rider?
Oh.
No doubt about it. This movie was bad. It was bad.
It was really, really, really bad, Broadcaster Nickels.
I honestly thought it was going to be all right.
I was praying because I loved Get Out, even though that had some sort of
had some racial tones.
It did, and it had a little bit of like SJW sprinkled in, but just a tiny bit. And the movie was good itself, so it didn't bother me very much. I could get past like the obvious, like, oh, look at the rich white people taking slaves in the modern time. And I was like, okay, whatever, sure. It's not race, it's class. We all know that. Rich people don't give a fuck if they exploit poor black people or poor white people or poor Asians. They exploit all poor people. It's fucking bullshit. But go on.
I think Peele should owe money. I think he should be forced to refund all tickets, even if they don't want the refund.
Even if they don't want it. I like that.
I want this refund to be forced upon them.
Yeah, it's like a recall. Like when Toyota recalls like Corollas that have faulty brakes.
Yeah, they're like, man, I can't wait for the future when you're just a robot, and they're just like, don't worry, let's recall that memory for you. And you're like, great. You don't have to know about it anymore. You just delete.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of
Not
horror
about that?
movies. I am about that, Broadcaster Nickels. I'm about that in a big way. I want to punch Jordan Peele in the face. I hate this movie so much.
Whoa.
If Jordan Peele showed up at my doorstep right now,
That's
I
next
would
violence.
throw him to the cement and start pounding on him.
Oh, Jesus.
He has ruined, and then the cops would be called, and he would become Candyman. Jordan Peele's the new Candyman. I hate this movie. I hate everything about it. I want it to not exist. I believe it has firmly ruined the chances of us ever getting a good Candyman now. I think he has not only killed the Candyman franchise, I think he has set horror back decades. We're in a dark time now because of Jordan Peele. He's the true Thanos of horror. He flipped his fucking fingers, he snapped them, and he just erased 50% of the future of horror. They just all died instantly because of how bad this movie was. So, of course, I'm also giving this a Ghost Rider. It was a long path to get there, but this is like the worst kind of Ghost Rider. This is Ghost Rider on PCP with COVID-19 and AIDS, dying in a hospital bed on a ventilator.
We're definitely getting flagged.
Yes. And that's okay, Broadcaster Nickels, because I believe anything referencing this movie should get flagged. I feel like we should be censored. Censor us.
We should be censored.
And with that, we'll close out. Halloween Kills. Horror's fucked, man. Horror is fucked. I give up.
I haven't even seen the trailer for that. I've only heard the audio from the trailer on my Spotify account.
It's probably better that way.
Dude, it's so bad. It's like, what's her name?
Jamie Lee Curtis?
Yeah, Jamie Lee. It's Jamie Lee Curtis and friends.
She's really got bad at acting in her old age.
Going to take down Michael for the 17th time or whatever this fucking is now, right?
Yeah.
It's fucking dumb.
Yeah.
It's in the audio, one of the chicks is just like, I want to remove his mask and see his face. It's like, does anyone watch this shit anymore?
They do. It's crazy, but they do. I don't know if they're going to now, though, because Halloween Kills it's not as bad as Candyman, but it's really bad. It's the worst Halloween movie of the entire franchise, by far.
Really?
Oh, fuck yeah.